Our next speaker is Alfredo Munoz. Alfredo, are
Yes.
you online? Hey there.
Yes. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, everyone.
Doing well. Welcome to the conference. Your talk is Digital Twins of Martian Cities as a New Frontier for Space Analogs. Take it away.
So my objective today is to first start with a video that can help as an intro of what I'm going to be explaining, and then I will go in depth. Beautiful. Okay, so this is Alfredo Munoz, and the objective of today is to talk about how digital twins can become a great tool for space analogs. I am the founder of Pave Studio, an architectural firm that is also specialized in space architecture and digital art. And I'm also a member of different organizations related to the space industry. But what about some of the previous work we have done in the fields of digital and Mars? Last year, we presented NUA along a group of 30 global scientists from different fields. The scientific work was coordinated with Guillem Anglada Escudé, which the previous speaker mentioned because he is the head of the discovery of Proxima b. So the opportunity that we brought on this solution was that it was a city inside the cliff. That offered a great amount of value and advantages in order to solve the challenges that we have on Mars. This was indeed part of the competition that Mars Society organized last year, and I want to express my gratitude for all the great work and for having me here. In regards with the digital field, recently we did work with Louis Vuitton on how to combine digital art, virtual reality, and space architecture. And we created a Coro, which is a digital art that will be auctioned in Sotheby's at the end of the year. But let's go to space analogs. There are a lot of space analogs worldwide, and many of them cover specific topics. The advantage of a space analog is that it gives us the opportunity to analyze in a safe environment situations that will be very extreme. Currently, most of the analogs are focused on the physical side. How do we secure protection thanks to technology? And how that technology allows us to give information to retrofit itself. So the analog keeps changing thanks to the learning opportunities that we have in that technology. We do see that there is an opportunity of expand the concept of a space analog when we are talking about soft aspects of society. While physical protection is very, very important, we think that the moment that we start thinking about a large scale permanent settlement on Mars, the community, the relationships among that community members and the sense of identity, it is as important as the well-being from the physical point of view. And we think that if we are able to iterate and learn from that community, we are able to continue evolving that scenario or that space analog to keep improving it until we think it's ready to actually take it to implementation on Mars. That's where the opportunities of technology come. What we are doing is we are combining the accuracy that is required to simulate an extreme environment and the immersion that comes with virtual reality. Thanks to the digital twin, we are able to mirror the similar situations of what we will have in the environment, in the political scenario, in the economy of that city, but that is not enough, because in a normal space analog, we are actually physically in the space. So in order to mirror those conditions, we have the opportunity through virtual reality to bring that immersive experience that will merge and be able to provide the value that we just talked about. We think this is very important when we are analyzing a large scale colony. Why is that? Because we cannot build a city on Mars on Earth. We cannot build an analog of a large development here. It will not be economical. It will not be feasible because the conditions are so different. So space analog on a traditional way that we have approached it so far adds a huge amount of value when we are looking at a small level of analysis. But again, there are a lot of opportunities that now, thanks to technology, we see that we are able to get. The opportunity that we have here now is that we are able to travel through space and through time today. Today, we are able to transport ourselves to Mars, into the future, experience how it will be, and be able to provide information and feedback so that space analog keeps changing and improving thanks to that feedback. So when the time is right, the future has been shaped by today's feedback that we got through the community that we are talking about. So now, let's talk a bit more about Techo. You saw the video before. Techo is how we envision that digital twin could operate. We are dividing it in different areas. The first area is the first settlers, where the first settlers on Mars will live. We are calling it Mars Village Alpha. It's a small settlement, up to 400 people on the surface of Mars. I will expand more later. And then we are having an additional area, which is almost a replica of that first Mars Village Alpha, which is a little farther away, accommodates up to 600 people. And the objective is to create resiliency. So if there is any problem, we have the backup plan of everyone in the first community to go to the second community. We are envisioning that if things go well with the industry, we will be able to start building the first colony in the next decade. But again, we are thinking that Mars could accommodate a large colony, and that could become a city. We are calling it Cliff City. That could be potentially starting construction in 2060s. And that means that we could start having the first non-scientific community living on Mars in the Cliff City, which will accommodate up to 150,000 people, and it will be in the cliffs inside the walls of Mars. Let's go to the first colony. The first colony, as explained, accommodates 400 people and is mainly for the scientific community to start settling on Mars. It includes buildings on the surface with a large canopy that secures those buildings and protect them from radiation, potential impact from micrometeorites. Those buildings are mainly 3D printed buildings that accommodate the residential quarters. We also have geodesic domes that provide the spaces for farming. And we also have an artificial gravity generator. We think that is very important because probably that colony is going to come back to Earth. And we all know how dangerous and challenging it's going to be to go for 2 years or 4 years to Mars and then come back thanks to the huge differences in the gravity. So the artificial gravity generator is rotating up to 4 times per minute in order to get used to the colonies on Mars to be able to come back to Earth. But those buildings, as I explained before, also provide the residential quarters. And those buildings are all connected underground with small tunnels that provide the possibility for the community to move around without the need to go out to the outside environment, which will be requiring special equipment. These common areas are again for these first settlers that will interact and live in the community, and also where we will have the individual pods for that first settlers to live. Inside those areas, we will have common spaces for that community to interact. But as I explained before, on Teco is including different phases of expansion as we envision in the industry that Mars will be. What you can see here is the view of the Cliff City from the first colony, as I explained, Mars Village Alpha. The city is self-sufficient, scalable, and has the modularity that is connected to the need of scalability. And it is creating tunnels, 14-meter diameter tunnels that create what we are calling neighborhoods. Neighborhoods are areas that provide up to 20 people living in that space. That you can see here, we have the individual residencies for the privacy of every individual that lives on Mars, but at the same time, there are a lot of areas that are shared. This is connected to how costly it is to build on Mars. We are acknowledging and aware that we will have to live different on Mars than what we live on Earth, because building on Mars and keeping that space on Mars is extremely expensive. But not only that, we think community is going to be essential for the survival of the people that will live on Mars. Why is that? It's such a harsh environment that we think that living a very individual life will put people at risk, because we will need to rely on each other in order to secure each other's well-being from the physical and mental point of view. Therefore, we think that living on Mars will be somehow similar to how a co-living environment will be on Earth, where we have very large common areas for people to enjoy and socialize, and then we have smaller spaces where people actually interact and develop their social environment. In these neighborhoods, we also have the access to indirect light. As you can see here in the back, we have access from the sides of the cliff by bringing the indirect light, and at the same time, having a relationship with the location, with the red planet. But you can see here that we have the individual apartments on the higher side. And those individual apartments is what we are calling MIRS, the minimum individual residential space. Every person will have 250 square foot just for themselves. That is equivalent to 25 square meters. That's completely private for everyone to enjoy as they please. If you move with your partner, both will have 2 different MIRS. That means that you will be able to recombine and live in a bigger apartment of 50 square meters per person. If you go with 3 people, then you will be able to have 3 MIRS, therefore 3 different combined spaces that you can have 75 square meters per person, per family, in case that is 3. The opportunity of this is that it's all gives the possibility to pre-manufacture. And I'm not expanding on this because of the lack of time, but local resources is the only way we are able to generate a self-sufficient city on Mars that is scalable to the level that we are envisioning here. So modularity and creating spaces that are able to fabricate and manufacture easily is critical. You can see that the individual apartments are highly customizable. You can see how you are. We have the bed, you have a living area, you have a working area. As you probably see, I'm in one of these apartments on Mars now. I'm working from this little spot, but because I didn't do the bed tonight, you can see that I closed this door. So you don't see the bed that I took a nap. But you can see again that having your own private space is critical as well for the well-being of how being a Martian is going to be. Now, let's go to those green areas that I explained before. Those green areas are the relationship with the outside world and where we have the nature as the anchor of life on Mars. You can see the first settlements here in the background. You can see the horizon that we see from the sides of the cliff. And this gives us the opportunity of a really strong sense of identity, of belonging. This is essential for the well-being of a community that is going to be permanent living on Mars. So identity and sense of belonging, we think, is essential for the stability and the growth of the city, which then connects to how we envision that arts could become a key anchor of this community that will be welcoming artists from all over the disciplines and backgrounds to add their views in an open source platform to envision how Mars could be, how art on Mars could be, and how their work can be very specific to a completely new environment of what we have on Earth. Not only that, we think that fashion is a critical aspect of the identity as humans. So we have been working trying to visualize how a Martian fashion would be. You can see here, we are working with accessories. We have augmented reality glasses that will be very important during the virtual reality experience and during the future life on Mars to get information that we will need. You can see accessories that are also weights. So we allow the newcomers to get used to moving around in such a low gravity environment. So fashion, again, adds a huge amount of opportunities to add to that sense of belonging and identity. And we hope that through creating a digital twin that is not only talking about the science, but also about the arts and fashion and the sense of what creates a complete holistic society, we think that we can continue learning from it and adding value. The relationships will be very different. As I explained before, we will live different on Mars. Therefore, we want to create an environment on the digital twin that forces people to live as we envision living on Mars. But not only the relationships among people will be very different. We also envision the relationships with artificial intelligence and robotics to be very different. We will need to rely on robotics. That's the only way that we can actually build the city on Mars and maintain a sustainable, self-sufficient city on Mars. So I introduce you to Wilson. We are calling Wilson our companionship. It's our drone robot that is going to help us through the entire process, not only to guide us and get used to how living on Mars is, but also is going to be working with the rest of the AI in order to help us survive on Mars. Those robotics need to be controlled, need to be managed. Therefore, we need to work. Working is going to be an essential part of living on Mars. Mars is not a holiday destination by far. It's going to be extremely hard, and we can expand more on this on separate conversations. And there are a lot of other guests that have talked about how hard it's going to be living on Mars. But at the same time, we also need to combine activities. We know exercise is going to be critical as well to maintain the physical well-being. So what we are envisioning is some areas of work pods where we work controlling the artificial intelligence, and we even walk to maintain the exercise that will be essential for the survival on Mars. But at the same time, the farming is essential as well. We need to create spaces that generate the food that we will eat, the energy that we will need, and the air that we will breathe. But going to the food, we are creating hydroponics environments because the diet, we are mainly envisioning it as vegetarian, and there are a lot of reasons that I don't have time to expand, and we talked about this in other opportunities. So the farming is an area where we have not only hydroponics, but we have aquaponics, and we have microalgae. All of that allows that the spaces where all this food is being generated is also protected from the radiation, which we all know now that it is one of the biggest challenges that we will face if we are exposed to the Martian sky through the radiation. Then we have food. Now we are allowing, again, to go back to society. Food and diet now on Earth is a very important aspect of how we see the interrelational side. So we are providing a lot of spaces in the digital twin of the city for community to actually enjoy digital food. We have, again, different spaces that are related to that environment that will facilitate the enjoyment of the food. But shopping is a critical aspect of society, and we are envisioning an economy that is backed up with blockchain technology as a way to integrate it into the digital twin and as a way to learn how blockchain can lead us towards a future that is more fair than what we currently have on Earth. And again, we can expand more on different topics about this, but the objective here is that by integrating an economic system inside the digital twin, as well as a political system, we are able to start analyzing how a very diverse and complex people that have large numbers of individuals are going to interconnect in a harsh environment that we are going to recreate in the environment of the digital twin. So again, retailing and shopping and the economy will be important, same as transportation. We do have a very important, the relationship between the spaces, and that Cliff City that I explained is a three-dimensional net of tunnels that are interconnected horizontally and vertically. So how to connect them is very, very important, as well as how to play. Entertainment is critical as well on Mars. So we are envisioning as of now for the immersive experience, have some type of ping pong, some type of mini golf. But again, we envision that thanks to the community, there will be new ideas that we will develop about how sport or activity will be so unique to living on Mars. And that is expected to happen thanks to that community. And that's to finish. What I would like to bring to as a potential concept on this conversation is we have all heard about the metaverse. A metaverse conceptually is a digital world that mirrors reality, but that does not exist, but it feels like real. Well, we would like to propose you a little bit something different, more a futuverse, where the parallel universe that we are building in the digital world does not exist as of now, but we intend to build it in the future. And at the same time, we hope and expect for the interaction of the community and the open source relationships among that community to give information to keep a permanent improvement in order to build what will be existing in the future. And that is where we see a huge amount of opportunities with the space analogs, how every member of the community can become a pioneer and their feedback can actually be considered for how a future city on Mars can be existing. And with that, I would like to finish. This is the first time that we officially present on Teco. This was launched a couple of days ago. We are currently finishing up the virtual reality experience. And as I explained, it's all about community, about ideas, about open source. So we are currently looking for people that want to partner, for somebody that wants to be part of the community, ideas, questions you might have. Please feel free to reach out to us at the information you see on the screen, because we do see huge amount of value in creating a digital twin of how a future city on Mars could be. And with this, I'm all yours for any questions that anyone might have.
Okay, we have a couple minutes for questions. Lyra, sorry, I keep mangling your name. Lyra, we have any questions in the Q&A panel?
Absolutely. So we've got a couple questions that you'll probably need to read after. They are about artificial gravity and then the use of synthetic versus local, like earth materials. But I think I'll start with the very first one. It's from Thomas, and they ask, at this stage, what role do you think the Mars colonists would have? Would they all be scientific researchers, miners and construction workers, or maybe tourists?
There are two different approaches that we see. For the first colonies, we think that the scientists are going to be the ones that are actually going to be living on Mars. But from the digital twin, we want to bring as diverse community as possible, because again, we are doing different phases. We have the first colony where we will be having only the scientists, potentially in the future on Mars, but then we have the city where we are going to have all type of people. So in the reality, we will probably have only scientists and astronauts living. But again, we are building a digital twin with different stages in mind. So we want to bring as diverse people as early as possible into the community, so we can continue learning, evolving, and providing feedback, so that digital twin becomes a living organism that evolves by itself thanks to the community.
Thank you. And the second question would be, let's see. So it comes from Jerry, and they ask, does the architecture take the lower gravity into account, and not just in the engineering aspect, like supporting the structure with less mass, but also the fact that over time, people will become taller?
Yes, we have maintained that in mind. We think that that's a very important aspect that we have to keep an eye on, not only for the permanent people living on Mars, but also, as I explained before, even for those that will go for a temporal stay, like 2 years or 4 years. So yes, definitely, that's one of the aspects that we have kept in mind, along with many other complexities of building a settlement on Mars. Again, I just explained the big picture, but if anyone is interested, they can go in depth about some of the previous talks we have done. I'm happy to continue expanding more on that on more events from Mars Society, or please feel free to reach out and we will cover any questions you have. But there's a lot of analysis done and a lot of work involved with creating the spaces, the architectural spaces that you saw, and it come with a strong scientific reasoning and background behind.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alfredo. We're out of time. This very fascinating work. I'm really excited about your VR project, for obvious reasons, because I work on one for us as well.
Yeah,
Love to talk with you more about that sometime.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.